All right, what's up, everyone? Good morning. Welcome to another edition of the show. I'm your host, Daniel Cody, giving you commentary and reviews on all things wrestling. Thank you to all the viewers and subscribers. Let's get started. In honor of the fact that last night rather, was Money in the Bank 2021, first time we had our fans back for a pay per view. In honor of the fact that it's Money in the Bank, once again wearing green. So we started off in the kickoff show with let me just first of all say everything was completely amazing. The fans were electric both times. It was almost as if we were watching NXT. And remember, before the pandemic, you had a lot of people who thought that the NXT crowd was fire, whereas the WWE crowd was more like regular. That has not been the case the past couple of nights because the Friday night crowd was awesome, and last night's crowd at Money in the Bank was spectacular. No dull moments in that match as far as the fans were concerned. So let's get into it. First, starting off with the kickoff show, the Usos versus Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. Great match, but I want to point out something for humor's sake. Now, of course, we know that Jimmy Uso has had his problems outside of the ring, and this is not his first time getting in trouble. But congratulations to the Usos for winning, and it seems like Jey Uso has taken an inspiration from Zelina Vega, mixing his hair color with black and red. But either way, in any event, congratulations to the Usos for winning the Tag Team Championships. And I'm glad that Jimmy is not fired. But I want to point out a couple of things. First of all, the match was very great. Secondly, there was something that Michael Cole said. He was pointing out during the match how Jimmy had taken time as he came back from injury to try to buy and drink the Kool-Aid that Roman Reigns was selling. And it made me come up with a hilarious post with something hilarious to say, in which I responded in the comment section of the kickoff show. And that is this. Now, speaking of Kool-Aid, Michael Cole talked about Kool-Aid, and I'm going to say this in humor. Kool-Aid should be Jimmy Uso's favorite drink from now on. I'm just saying. I'm just saying from this day forth, Kool-Aid should be Jimmy's favorite drink because alcohol is just not doing it for him. One more strike and he's probably going to be fired. Thankfully, they did not fire him. The match was interesting. One of the highlights of that match, in my personal opinion, was when Jey Uso made the finishing splash on Rey Mysterio after catching him with a super kick after Rey tried to do a top rope springboard. However, what made that match so epic was that moment in which we thought it was supposed to be over, but Rey Mysterio showed great resilience and it excited the crowd. It's nothing more exciting than an epic kickout. Kind of like the one we saw at WrestleMania 25 with The Undertaker, Tombstone, and Shawn Michaels, only to have Shawn Michaels kick out. JR has an outer body experience, and The Undertaker has those iconic eyes of, I can't believe he kicked out. But it was a great match, and that was one of my favorite moments. But with a roll-up assist, once again, that move again, Jesus. With a roll-up assist from his brother Jimmy Uso, Jey scored a roll-up pin over Rey Mysterio, and now they are the tag team champions. Moving on to the main show, we started off with the women's Money in the Bank match for the championship match of whichever brand they choose. And I will say this, the match was good, but I just couldn't get over Alexa and Zelina Vega. I just couldn't get over that. I didn't I couldn't think of nothing else after that happened. When Zelina Vega tried to grab the briefcase and Alexa Bliss climbed up the ladder and used her little witchcraft, and where I'm from that's considered witchcraft and it's the devil, and my mother wants to grab holy oil right now. If my mother had saw that, she would have been throwing holy oil all over the place and things like that. So, hey mom, by the way, I just couldn't get over that. After that happened, I couldn't think of nothing else. Just all that hypno power, just it was something. But kudos to Nikki Ash for coming up the ladder and sneakingly grabbing it for before anyone could notice, because all six women, yeah, was it six or eight? But all the women were on top of the ladder. They had stacks of ladders on the top in the ring, and all of them were on top fighting each other. And Nikki was able to sneak up. And Nikki Ash has taken ASH rather has been taking a bit of a superhero persona, kind of like Gregory Helms did with Hurricane, or Mighty Molly with Holly Molly as Mighty Molly. I apologize. But Nikki ASH is the winner. The superhero angle is kind of interesting, I will say that. So congratulations to her. But like I said, I didn't see nothing else after Alexa and um, Zelina Vega happened, with Zelina being totally hypnotized by Alexa. I couldn't think of nothing else after that. I was lost. I was just totally traumatized and freaked out. But also, after that match happened, Styles and Omos went on to defeat the Viking Raiders for the tag team championships, retaining their tag team championships. And I gotta ask, I don't think anyone can stop AJ and Omos as long as he has a partner like Omos, because I just don't think it'll happen. The only people that have a shot are people like Drew McIntyre. Moving on to the next match, let me tell you, Bobby Lashley versus Kofi Kingston. I have never seen a more one-sided championship match. That is the first time I have seen a one-sided destructive match since Brock Lesnar versus John Cena, SummerSlam 2014. I've never seen a one-sided match like that until now. It was just that, one-sided. There's no other words left but to say that right there. Just completely one-sided, except this time it was a one-sided championship defense match, whereas with Brock Lesnar versus Cena, it was a one-sided match where Brock Lesnar destroyed John Cena and took the title away. But again, this time it was one-sided to the point where Bobby Lashley retained. So Bobby Lashley must have been really angry that both Xavier and Kofi scored pinfall victories, roll-up wise, against the almighty Bobby Lashley. So there's that. And by the way, going back to the women's match, what made that highlight so special between Vega and Alexa was, as both of them were climbing down, Pat McAfee should have gotten an extra pay for making that match look good and humorous with his special "What is this?" line. I will never forget that as long as I live. Thank you, Pat McAfee. Great commentary. Helped that match really good. Good commentary always helps. So also, after the one-sided match, we move on to the men's after the women's Money in the Bank match and Lashley, we move on to the women's championship match from Raw between Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair. And most of us noticed during that match, I thought for a second there was a couple of chants of Rhea Ripley because she was a bit the favorite in that match, being the face and Charlotte the heel. But then I began to realize that what they were really chanting was "We want Becky." And yes, we all miss seeing Becky in the ring. Becky Lynch, one of my all-time favorites, female wrestlers. And recently, earlier today, I watched Money in the Bank on Peacock, and one of the events I watched today was 2019. And in my personal opinion, Becky Lynch carried that year. Not by herself, but for the most part, she carried that year. For the most part, and she was the highlight of the year. You look at the early PG era, John Cena was the face of that era, the top face of that era. Becky Lynch was the top face of 2019, in my personal opinion. And 2020, before she had to let the title go to become a mother. Congratulations. But this match between Rhea and Charlotte was great. A rematch from the previous pay-per-view, which I believe was, because it was in the Thunderdome. What was it? But they faced off before, but they did it inside the Thunderdome and whatnot, and it ended off not being the conclusion that we really wanted. But also, it was a rematch. It was them one on one. The match was good. They started off with the Rhea Ripley a little bit, and then it went on to We Want Becky. And Charlotte Flair's got a little bit, took a page out of Stone Cold's book with the Stone Cold gestures to the crowd a little bit there. That's non PG there, but we moved on. The match got pretty interesting. And then one of the highlights of that match, of course, was the We Want Becky chants, the finger, and of course, this was really great. I always talk about epic kickouts after great moves. Charlotte Flair has a move called the natural selection, except this time she hooked Rhea's neck while standing on the top rope and used that move. I surely thought that that was it right there, but Rhea Ripley kicked out, and I was shocked because I was like, man, I thought that was going to be it right there. But it wasn't. And that sent Charlotte down an angry path. And and the commentators talked about how she can lose control of her emotions. But this time it worked out well because she locked Rhea Ripley's leg in the steps in the corner and started kicking 3 times, and we almost thought she was risking disqualification, but she didn't. After that, she went for her signature figure 8, which is a modified version of her father's figure 4 leg lock, and Rhea Ripley tried so hard not to tap out, but keep in mind she had her leg crushed on the steel steps before the move came in, and so eventually she tapped out. And I gotta say, it has to be ripping at her alive. It has to eat her alive. She must feel like The Rock after the first 2 WrestleManias, because at the first WrestleMania, The Rock lost. Second WrestleMania against Stone Cold, The Rock lost. So I believe it really bothers Rhea Ripley to know that she has never beaten Charlotte one-on-one. She owns a victory over Charlotte and Asuka, but she pinned Asuka at WrestleMania Backlash. But she has never beaten Charlotte, to my knowledge, one-on-one. And I know that's got to eat her alive. That really does have to eat her alive. And on top of that, both times she lost her championship via submission. So I know that's really got to bother her a lot. Moving on to the last 2 matches, we have the men's Money in the Bank match. That was awesome. For a moment, we saw John Morrison and Seth Rollins form an alliance, but I will say this, while they were forming an alliance, I noticed something. During the Thunderdome era, the sound effects were put in place to make the good guys look good and the heels look like bad guys as far as the response were concerned. However, according to the Thunderdome sound effects, John John Morrison is set to be the heel of that group, a heel, whereas when he was in the crowd tonight, there were a lot of people chanting his nickname, which is Johnny Drip Drip. There was a Johnny Drip Drip crowd chant coming through the crowd, which lets me know that a lot of times it's better to hear fans instead of sound effects because fans will let you know what they really think. Now, if there was a Thunderdome during the era of 2002, if the Thunderdome era was in 2002, it would have made matches like Hogan versus The Rock, and The Rock would have had all the cheers in the sound effects, whereas Hogan would have had the boos. But if you ask the crowd what they really think, it may surprise you. And this was one of those moments where when you really ask the crowd how they really feel instead of what you think they're supposed to feel, you might get a little surprise. So Johnny Drip Drip chants were going off. Didn't expect that, but that happened. Also, a lot of highlights. One of the highlights we was Matt Riddle taking a page out of Randy Orton's book, delivering RKO's to everybody. Drew McIntyre doing a dive over the top rope for someone of his size. That does not happen often. And Drew McIntyre made that exact same point about guys his size doing cruiserweight like activity when he addressed his disagreement for The Undertaker's comments on WWE going soft. And speaking of Drew McIntyre, unfortunately, Drew was attacked, and I will say this humorously for entertainment purposes. Drew was attacked by Jinder Mahal and what JR would call his stooges. I used to love when JR would call Mr. McMahon's buddies his stooges. It was hilarious. So, Jinder Mahal and his two stooges, for humorous purposes because they're bad guys, came and attacked Drew and took him to the back. So 2 out of the 3 members of 3MB will be having a rivalry, which will probably culminate at SummerSlam. However, moving back into the match, the highlights continued with Ricochet being pushed off the ladder, and instead of landing hard on the concrete or the pads, he caught himself on the top rope and launched an amazing dive off the ropes, landing onto the guys in the front. Not to mention, we know The Undertaker does the old school, and that takes a lot of balance, but we saw Ricochet walk the top rope across and keep his balance without falling before launching himself onto the ladder to climb and try to grab the briefcase himself. So that was amazing, and he did that without help. At least The Undertaker had a little bit of help keeping his balance while holding someone's arm, like a kid does in the park. So that was fun. Let's see. We have the Johnny Drip Drip chance, and they'll probably turn him face for that. Who knows? They should. Listen to the crowd sometimes, because sometimes the crowd will tell you who you want to see heel or not. Also, moving on, that was a great match. A great match that my money was on Drew McIntyre. However, who knew Big E Langston, after delivering a big ending from the top of the ladder, would win that match? Thoughts and concerns to Kevin Owens after Seth Rollins powerbombed him through a ladder, by the way. That's got to hurt. Every time you come to Money in the Bank, you can expect a ladder to crack and be broken with someone's body. One year, they need to bring back drowning pools, let the bodies hit the floor, because that's what happens at Money in the Bank. Something's going to break. Last but not least, we have the main event for the Universal Heavyweight Champion between Roman Reigns and Edge. I thought it was going to be a great match. And I think it was pretty good. I think it somewhat lived up to the hype, except for the ending and who we were rooting for, but it lived up to the hype in a certain sense. They started off filling each other out, and then Roman Reigns took control, much to Michael Cole's point about how Roman is able to stay in control of the matches, which is why he has been successful for so long. So that filling out process happened. Roman took control of the match. There was a part where he had Roman in a headlock. Some people were chanting, "You can't wrestle." And then there was about three, four people saying, "Yes, he can." So that was kind of funny. And Roman was talking trash while he had Edge in a headlock. "I'm going to keep him here all day. I'll keep him here all night. And there's nothing you can do about it." I can't, that's the best Roman impression I can do, but don't clap. Don't clap. He doesn't deserve it. This is what happens when you try to mess with the head of the table. Acknowledge me. That was the best I could do. It's not perfect, but it's the best I could do. Either way, great match. Edge took control a little bit. And while Roman attempted to spear Edge through the barricade unsuccessfully, Edge returned the favor, except he did the spear through the barricade and was successful at that, and brought him to the ring only to have him kick out. Roman goes for a spear of his own after his former buddy Seth Rollins interferes because Seth Rollins couldn't handle the loss. And remember, after the ladder match, he was like, "I gotta come up with another plan. I gotta come up with another plan. I'm next in line." Seth Rollins a little nuts there. So Seth Rollins interferes, and Roman goes for the spear, kicks out the first time. Edge comes to himself and gets rope and goes for a spear of his own again. Roman kicks out. Then Seth comes in, and not to mention you have other interferences from the Usos, and Rey Mysterio's coming to help also. So it was also very chaotic. A lot of outside interferences making the match extra interesting. But in the end, Seth Rollins' assistance helped Roman go for the spear and the win. And just when we thought the night was over, John Cena returns. Yes, the star of Fast and Furious and the brother of Dominic Toretto in the script is back. Go see the movie Fast 9. It is awesome. You will absolutely love it. I went to see it for my birthday and it was awesome. So go check it out. It's great. Great to see John Cena back. And surprisingly, this is the first time there were no John Cena sucks chants. This is the first time the crowd was 100% behind Cena. You know, with John Cena coming back and the rumors of it being that he was coming back, people wonder, is he finally going to do that heel turn again? Thankfully, he did not. John Cena is still John Cena. He's back, and he said he's not back for one night, but he is here for his first night. So I'm glad to see John Cena back. John Cena's rocking green. I'm rocking green. It's a great time to wear green, but not smoke. But either way, it's a great time to be in green. It's like they say on The Wiz, you got to be seen in green. But either way, it was a great night with an awesome ending. Awesome ending. John Cena is back, and I think he's supposed to be on Raw now, but who knows? He may be on SmackDown. And with Seth Rollins interfering in the match with Edge, I hope we see Edge versus Edge versus Seth Rollins at SummerSlam. So we have the potential to see Edge versus Seth at SummerSlam. That'll make a dream match. Drew McIntyre versus Jinder Mahal at SummerSlam. I hope that happens. Who's going to stop the Almighty at SummerSlam? Or will he have a match with good competition? Who knows? Congratulations to Big E for being money in the bank. Power of positivity works. So, congratulations to everybody. I am so happy to see John Cena back. That's all the time we've got for you now, and I'll be back for another review on all things wrestling. So, have a good Monday. Peace out.